Good Taste Edibles has something wild dropping soon, and you're gonna want to be ready for it. They took their fan favorite Funfetti Crispy, you know the one that tastes like a party, and they leveled it all the way up. Coming soon, the Fruit Fetty 1000 milligram mega dosed crispy. Same sweet, fruity, marshmallowy goodness, but now with a ridiculous 1000 milligrams of THC. This isn't background edible energy. This is main character energy. Perfect for high tolerance folks or sharing with the crew. Just don't say we didn't warn you.
Welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am Tim, and with me is always Brandon. And today, we have the North Boys. Leonard Volner, president, co-founder. Neil Volner, vice president, co-founder of North Dispensaries. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yes. So you guys are in Peevely and Hillsborough.
Yep. Fortunately, we're right where we grew up, just a few miles away.
Dude,
Yeah, we're Jefferson County boys, and our other partner and founder is also born and raised here in Jefferson County as well. So having both of them here is kind of honestly a rarity, but also a great
blessing
thing for us.
Yeah. Keep it in the hometown. That's awesome. So I remember when everything started passing here, I just remember seeing the North logo everywhere. Hats, shirts, freaking all stickers. And I'm like, where is this place? And then I remember driving down, is it 55 or 55? Yeah. And I was like, oh, there it is. And so I was like, oh, cool. So I looked into you guys and I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I just started seeing all the events you guys do and everything. And so we'll get into that because I really want to get into the Canna Cup and the music festival. But first off, I mean, I remember you guys being the first to offer delivery, right, in Jefferson County?
Yeah, we did do that for a good long while. We did have to shut that program down because it became it was tough to do with the tax environment. It was costing us almost $3 a mile. But we were a market leader. We were, if you inside metric, you can see like all those manifests were sequential, so we could pretty well track how many of those we were putting into the system versus everybody else, and we were a market leader for a very long time. And when we finally went and looked back at like, does this make any money, or like what is it actually costing us to run this? We spent a lot of time trying to make it work, right? And I thought the economics made sense with like, if you can get 8 deliveries per vehicle per day, you're good. Well, we ran, over time we continued to increase our service area to try to create enough. So we cover enough geography to get that level of demand, 8+ a day. And but when we finally reached the geographic spread necessary to get 8 transactions a day through delivery, it was like 600 square miles, right? And so we could do 8 a day, but it was not cost effective when you're driving hundreds of miles and there's 280E tax and everything else. And then when we became aware that it was not profitable, but we continued to do it for quite some time after that, because the customers that really used that, we had a variety of customers that, paraplegics, people with extreme agoraphobia, these folks were not leaving their house, and we were their really only we were really their only avenue to medical cannabis at the time. So it was important to us to continue to offer it, but eventually, we got to run a business, so we got to make money.
Yeah, the insurance on that was pretty insane. That's what led to slowest fulfillment model. So it really wasn't. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze, but we have big hearts. We care about people we were taking care of, so that's why we worked so long and so hard to try to keep it alive. Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. So, but we're still proud that we gave it a good, the good old college try. And and if it ever became feasible again, I'm sure we would try.
And I think probably one of the biggest metrics, like Neil mentioned, is insurance. Like our insurance policy just to have those vans on the road is $8,000 a year. And when it came time to renew that policy, we had to look at each other and decide, are we gonna pay this again, or and that's when we decided to cut it.
Yeah.
But there's really only 2 providers in the entire state that provide auto insurance to our industry, at least that I'm aware of. So at least for home delivery purposes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was a misquote or not, but I recall $38,000.
Oh yeah, and maybe it's
$38,000.
Okay, well, don't quote me on that, but it was expensive, quite expensive.
That's why
I was about to say, you guys must have stellar driving records. I was like, because
well,
my insurance in my 20s just for my Eclipse was probably pretty close to that. But I also put my attorney's kids through college because I had a moving violation about every 5 to 10 feet, it seemed like. So anytime you have to move to another state in order to continue driving, you probably got a lot of speeding tickets.
Yeah.
SR22s are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like from the insurance perspective, they didn't really care about the driving. They saw cannabis as a big liability.
Of course.
Most people do. And, we did have one accident that nobody really got seriously hurt in, but other than that, like, there was really no call for that number other than we're carrying weed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as we're talking about insurance, when that accident did occur, the best thing for us was that the state regulations required us to have the cameras looking out the front window and everything. So you could watch that footage, and it was definitely the other car's driver, 100%. And so we did get that insurance company paid us, so we were fine, and we didn't have any marks on our record for that. But
yeah.
That's awesome. And it's so crazy to think whenever we're talking about, the early days of medical and stuff like that, the difference between the logistics of delivery and security and what that looked like in the early days in 2020. And, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, this is overkill, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden people started driving through the front of buildings and stuff like that for a substantial period of time. And so, but now, you don't see a whole lot of armed security inside dispensaries anymore and things like that. The evolution of how far we've come in a very, very short period of time. I think we forget about that a lot of times because it went so breakneck. It was, nothing existed, then everything existed, then holy cow, like we're under siege essentially. We have, break-ins, we have these crazy burglaries and destruction of property in Kansas City and St. Louis and stuff like that. And it was such a recurring issue that people made huge, massive changes to their security requirements. It changed the way the state did some things. And it really heavily impacted everything. And then basically as quickly as it started, it just kind of went away. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, we've maybe had 1 or 2 dispensary break-ins or thefts, and one of those was 100%, an inside job. And now, it was an out the back door type of thing. And then the other thing we've seen is that with all the pop-up, unregulated hemp dispensaries and dispensaries and things like that, we've seen several of those, get robbed or things like that, depending on different areas. But that's because they have literally zero security requirements in most of those places. And so it becomes another very easy target type of thing. But it's whenever you guys are talking about delivery and stuff, that was something that everybody was trying to figure out the model for. And it's kind of become not a real big talking point anymore. You talk about the quick changes and the breakneck pace. Realistically, in 5 to 10 years, we may be in the same position that California and Canada and a few other places are. Canada now has Uber and Postmates doing cannabis deliveries. California for several years has had services
very similar because they don't have the same same transportation requirements that Missouri does. And so we could, with the swipe of a pen and rule promulgation process, be in that same position where we could have a Postmates DoorDash style delivery service for cannabis. And I don't think anybody would have imagined that was feasible in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, there was at one point in time there was a company, I believe it was called Doobies, or not something
like
that.
That's in St. Louis.
Doobies. That they were launching to do delivery, and that was fairly early on. I don't recall hearing anything about after the initial buzz from it. So I don't know if they're actually successful. I have noticed that directly on DoorDash, they have a THC CBD tab now. Doesn't have a lot on it, but I kind of perked my ears. So, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah. If it's becoming okay for the gray market operators to be there, like, which we should have the regulated market there, just the same. So,
and then I do want to touch a little bit on the break-ins that you mentioned. We've been really lucky to not have experienced anything like that. However, we've had our fair share of building damage. I think our buildings have been hit by a car accidentally on 3 separate occasions at this point.
What?
But people have struggled through that drive-through for whatever reason, we recently had a tire fly off of a truck driving down 21 in Hillsborough and smash into the building.
I'm telling you, I need to send you the video. That it's crazy. Like, I'm telling you, a car driving down the road, wheel comes off, smashes into the side of the building like Sonic the Hedgehog, almost came inside. But that's just the craziest things. And during that, to go back a little bit and touch on the break-ins thing. Like, we were very worried, specifically because, like, we're right here on the interstate. You could be gone in a second, or the other location. The other location we felt a little more comfortable about because it was in the county seat. You got the sheriff's department nearby and everything else. But this one here in Peevely we were keeping us up overnight, and we had a good friend, Chris Chesley. He originally started Starbuds, and before they sold to Proper and so on. Chris Chesley, Starbuds, they had a break-in, and they're our closest neighbor.
Was that their Festus location?
Yep.
Yeah.
But Chris sends me the video of, like, those guys trying to get into his facility, and 24 hours before that break-in happened at his facility, he had installed this heavy-duty steel bar, latch.
I remember that.
I can't really describe it, but like a locking bar over the front door, so they weren't unable to get anything, even though they pried the back door open and tried to get through that. So as soon as he shared that with me, immediately I got online, ordered that same part, had it installed right away, and I've never looked back. But right around that same time, it was mostly those folks with their stolen Kias. So I'm around that period of time, I was watching cameras every single night, all night. Is anybody here? And we had at least 2 different times with Kias come through the parking lot after hours and then leave. So, but we were lucky. Part of what helped us is, my background before I was in cannabis is that I was a civil and architectural engineer, and so when we designed this thing, I was there on the ground floor. Like, what I was most concerned about was vehicle impact. So we've got massive vehicle impact rated pipe bollards in front of both the glass windows, and we've got like a 5-lug security door on the back door, and so, like, you could smash into that thing with a direct hit. You're not going to come through. But by doing those sorts of things, that also allowed us to open the place up. Like, we have giant glass windows. Like, you don't see that at other dispensaries. Like, most dispensaries, you think about a dark corner of the of the city and tucked in a strip mall or an industrial area or whatever. We're not that. We're highly visible, right on the interstate, beautiful buildings,
natural light,
lots of natural light. People walk in and part of what that helped us with was when we first launched, right? Before we were open, you mentioned seeing North logos everywhere. Well, all we had was North, but we didn't declare ourselves a dispensary on the outside of the building or anything. I can't tell you how many little old church ladies pulled up wondering if we were doing, what that drive-through window. Were you doing drive-through communion or what? So they thought it was a church.
Everybody thought it was a church.
But that actually helped, because it disarmed folks. Like, the same folks that would have been your biggest opponents, when they roll up and you're the nicest person and you can speak eloquently about why you're here and why you're not the boogeyman, you win a lot of people over that way. So just not hiding, being very engaged in the community and showing people you're not scary is important.
I would say that the natural light and being open like that was part of that whole. I mean, it's symbolism for bringing cannabis out into the light. You know, it really is, because we didn't want it to seem like your average dispensary. We kind of thought up. We did a ton of market research. We went to dispensaries all over the place, and we just picked the things we liked about each one. And there were some parts that we never found in a dispensary, and we were like, this is kind of what it needs.
Yeah.
So, and most people, they have a lot of comments when they come in and see it, because it really isn't like other dispensaries. It very much is its own thing, and that's what we were shooting for. You know, we weren't trying to be. What would be the perfect scenario we would want? We're not trying to, you know, fall in line with everybody else, you know, hide in a corner and, you know, so you could shuffle out the back door like, you know, you're leaving the adult,
video store.
For anybody that's not been to you guys' dispensary, it really is like kind of a marvel whenever you see it, both from the outside and more so from the inside. Whenever you walk inside, it looks and feels like a high concept church, or like, you know, some kind of Ansel Adams type open floor architecture plan with, you know, big beams and tons of light, and the way that it casts shadows and you know, different designs and stuff because of the way that you guys have the beam set up. And the original, you know, haven't seen the inside in a minute, but the original layout of how you had the retail floor and stuff like that, with the pops of white on the bases of everything just looks super clean. Everything looks super modernized without feeling high tech, if that makes sense. And so I think disarming is a great word for it, because it really is one of those things where you walk in and you immediately feel relaxed and like everything is easily accessible. You're not overwhelmed, but at the same time, you don't feel like you just walked into an Apple store or a Walgreens. You know, it doesn't have the feel of a regular retail store. It has the feel of, you know, high-end home boutiques or, you know, something like that. And it makes everybody kind of stop and take a look around. And
there were a lot of little things that we did to add to that. Like, for instance, they really wanted a barrier from the waiting room into the sales floor, and that kind of broke that whole openness that we really wanted. So we gave them a barrier. It just happens to be a see-through one.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, you can see right into the sales floor, and you're part of it. But I do want to say that there was an important piece for Leonard here. You know, he's an engineer. He wanted to bring a lot of an element of construction for each part. So there's wood, there's, you know, concrete, you know, steel. He wanted all of it.
Composites, you know, natural tones, you know.
Yeah, so, I could, when we were talking about it, when Brandon was talking about it, I was watching your face, Leonard, and I could immediately see you had something to do with this, because with an engineering background and then having an opportunity to build something like this, holy cow, I could just see it on your face.
It was, I mean, I'll tell you, like, I'd worked on engineering projects, multi-million-dollar engineering projects, where I'm sitting on the other side of the table solving people's problems. And then, you know, you create the plans, and sometimes you have a little bit to do with construction management, but by and large, once you draw on the plans, it's off your table and you don't get to see the rest of the process. And then for us, when we jumped in here, it's like, now we won licenses. We applied for 9 licenses, so we had a lot of conceptual plans for a lot of different sites. And then when we won, it was like, okay, now it's real. What do we want? What are we gonna do? And so a lot of that was, you're seeing, you know, elements of my past and my history. It's, you know, it's all about the building elements, the construction elements. And so one of the best things I think that helped us with early days was, because of I want to be careful how I kind of talk about this, but when we submitted our plans to the state, right, I actually made a small mistake that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I didn't submit any of the interior plans. Like, we had a site plan. It showed where all the site was laid out, but it didn't show where the inside walls were. So when COVID happened, because we applied before COVID and then we were awarded during COVID. When COVID happened and drive-through became like that was what we were going to do, we were able to quickly, it was on our plans that it could be done, and we just penciled in the rest of the details. So we were one of the few people in the state that just launched with the drive-through ready to go day one, and everybody else, once they saw how beautifully it worked, they had to apply for change orders and such to come in after to add that stuff.
And to add to that, without saying too much here, at the very beginning especially, all we had was just the law to go off of and very few little rules.
Yep.
So we were really kind of the principle that if there's nothing telling us no, then we can do it.
Yes.
So there were certain things that we, for instance, the drive-through is one of them. They really kind of were back and forth on it, and somebody needed to be out there to prove that it's not the boogeyman. The world doesn't collapse when people can get it through the drive-through. Mm-hmm. And there was no rule telling us no. So when we're doing this, we're also proving to the state that this can be done in a compliant manner and safely. So I think we try to pioneer as many things as we could with things like delivery and the drive-through and such.
Yep.
Specifically based on, they never said we couldn't do it, because the problem is, especially early on, which they've got much better at, is that if you ask your compliance officer a specific question, sometimes they would come back with their version of an answer. Well, then the guy down the street, his compliance officer answered that question different. Now we're operating under different rules. So we kind of worked the system as I think most you should realistically. No one said no.
Yep.
Let's do it. You tell me no after I'm doing it, or tell me why no. Okay, and then we'll stop. So
to that point, though, the department was a little bit, not a little bit, was considerably more receptive at that time.
Absolutely. Yep.
It was
just
to the timing. Point you made. There weren't a lot of rules, but the rules that they did have, there weren't 40 pages of guidance and communications and clarifications and revisions and things like that on. And so the way that it was working early on was you do something, and if they decided that they didn't like that, then there was a lot more back and forth. There was a lot more communication rather than, no, we decided we don't like it. Now we're gonna write a rule or a communication that says that you can't do this retroactively, and then you just can't. Before, it was kind of a give and take, a little bit of a compromise type thing where you guys and some of the facilities in Kansas City and St. Louis, I think everybody had the opportunity to kind of plead their case a little bit more and say, to your point, it's not written down. We don't have a rule against it. This is our chance to show you. And they did. They kind of let people have enough leeway to prove that it was going to work, or in some cases it definitely wasn't going to work. Right. And then, okay, we've tested it. Now we've seen that this doesn't work. We're going to go ahead and tell everybody else, hey, that's not something we're going to continue to do. Without cutting you guys off, one of the things that I'm really excited to get to kind of goes into exactly what we're talking about, is you guys being creative and unique in the way that you approach everything from the beginning, from the build out to the implementation of different things. One of the things that you guys have done, and I would be remiss to not include Corinne in saying you guys, over the last couple years, is you've gotten more and more active as far as hosting community events. I'm a big believer in the idea of the nose knows. If it smells good, it's going to taste good. It's going to make you feel better whenever you're talking about cannabis flower. And one of my favorite ways to shop, and the best way to shop whenever you're talking about the nose knows, is deli style. Blue Sage has one of the biggest selections of deli-style flower in the state, with great deals on bulk flower. They also have the best selection on Blue Sage house brands like Vivid, Buoyant Bob, and Missouri's Own. So come see your buds in Belton, Carthage, Lebanon, St. Louis, and Valley Park, and check out the full menu of deli-style flower and more at cannabisdeli.com. Now, that's been a hallmark since before Corinne was there. But I believe that since Corinne has come on board, they've become a lot more frequent, and it's become a lot more stylized with, Food Truck Friday type of thing. And you guys have really created this entire culture of North with North Night Out. And the culmination, in my eyes, of a few years of North Night Out and community activations and stuff is you guys are getting ready to launch a pretty historic music experience / Cannabis Cup, on the biggest one that we've seen on the eastern side of the state. Now, we had something similar a few years ago at Smoky River. Shout out to Joey P and the people over at Besame at the time. They put a ton of work, had a great event and things like that. Through a million different moving pieces, that's no longer there. This is the first thing on the eastern side of the state that is this scale, this organized, and has this much backing, and is combining the music and the cannabis experience. There's a million things to talk about with this.
Yes.
To start with, when is it?
August 30th. Yeah.
August 30th, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's gonna be a long day, but it is
PM to question mark.
Yeah, until the lights turn off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a big effort getting all that worked out. We did actually finally get the Jefferson County Fairgrounds booked completely. We got the contract signed and everything's good to go. I met this morning with the fire department, the police chief, the mayor, EMS. We got everybody on board. It was an uphill battle. They told us yes, then they told us no, and then they went back to telling us yes, and here we are.
We had to go to the board, and there were a couple
Appeal.
of people that wanted to hold out. We had to go to the board and show again, like we have done many times throughout the last 6-7 years in this industry, prove that we're not the boogeyman. We're just like you, and our events are not ones that should be avoided. Sometimes the mayor actually mentioned this to me, that sometimes people get rowdy whenever they're out drinking, listening to music. You know what I mean? We have had 0 altercations and 2 years of events, and we do them every single month. So that is a great record. I can tell you that. So you don't have to worry about none of that with us. There's going to be no riot. That's not in the stoner culture. We're not rioting.
Right.
But yeah, so we did finally come to an agreement, and we're going to utilize the facilities of the Jefferson County Fairgrounds, which is huge because in the time that we weren't going to be able to use those facilities, we were literally looking at the field next to our Hillsborough North, and we're like, man, we're going to have to build this entire event from a bare field. I mean, that is a logistical nightmare, but we were prepared to do it. And the other thing is 4,000 people is about 3,000 to 4,000 what we're expecting to come to this. I mean, if you want this to be Weedstock 2025, we'll make it that, because there's not enough for 4,000 people anywhere else.
But yeah, that's the one thing with the fairgrounds. They could fit 11,000 attendees, so we're plenty capacity for that venue. It's great. So. And
you have a ton of pre-existing infrastructure there.
Oh yeah,
lighting, stages. Water.
I don't want to elaborate too much on like what we have like spending on this particular event, but I can tell you at the beginning of time, we were spending like $1,000 to $2,000, and me and Neil were out there with sledgehammers putting fence stakes in the ground, whatever. We're like building this thing from the ground up. Yeah. And then as it became, you build it, people come. As soon as we saw the crowds increasing, we're like, okay, well, now it's the middle of summer. How are we going to keep them in the shade and cool and happy? And okay, now it's the middle of the winter. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to go to an indoor venue, and so we've solved all those problems over this journey. But it's been quite the experience learning all that stuff.
So I will say, just as he mentioned, since he's already kind of mentioned the beginnings, I want to bring this up. So at the beginning, realistically, this is our community. This is where we grew up. So these are our people, and we want to. If we look at like what makes us unique and comparative to others, like we are probably the only or one of the only hyper local dispensaries there is. Like So the people that, you know, in my years in the legacy market bought cannabis from me are buying cannabis from me right now.
Yeah.
That's the, you know, so this is, we really appreciate that. And so this is kind of just to get people together and, you know, be present with them and say, hey, you know, I'm one of you.
I mean,
our town together. Right?
we realize, like, you know, alcohol, there's plenty of, you go to a fair, there's plenty of alcohol at a fair. You go to a bar, there's lots of, like, alcohol is just already everywhere, and it's well accepted. But we didn't have that for the cannabis community, so we were just trying to, you know, put on events that if they were free and we could put enough cool stuff there, people would show up. And our first motivation, like, I don't want to be braggadocious, so I don't want to, like, talk about specifics, but, like, we are very engaged in, like, community efforts. So, like, charities. Every month we choose a charity partner for one of those events. We've done food drives. We've raised money for animal shelters. We've done adoption events. We bought school supplies for kids. We've done toy drives. You know, and a lot of times though we just try to, like, strip the cannabis aspect off as we're handing this stuff off, because, you know, people still have opinions. But
well, and to add to that, we have never made any money off of any of the events we've done. We've solely done them for the purpose of creating community, and if we're going to make anything or utilize the crowd, we wanted to take that, and we found a local charity. We've tried to keep it as much as possible in Jefferson County to contribute to. So, you know, they come in, give some canned goods, and end up in a raffle for, you know, a bong or something like that. But
yeah.
We've never made $1 off of any of the events we put on. Yep. It's all been about community.
Amazing.
Like you said, it's an experience thing, though, man. What are we offering that you can't get somewhere else? We offer lots of experiences, things like that. Going out.
The Floozies, the Afroman, Josh Heinrichs, Guerrilla Theory. I mean, those are some things that you can offer that you guys are offering.
Yeah.
And I don't know if so Kamm The One Drops is incredible as well. They're one of my favorite local bands, but from what I learned, that apparently Josh Heinrichs, who used to be the original singer of Ja Roots, he helped Kamm The One Drops early on, and so I've been waiting to catch them on a bill together for a long, long time, and now it was like, okay, well, why don't we make that bill?
Right? Yeah. What better way?
Kamm, like, he's got such a great local following. Like, he'll sell out the JB Amphitheater, and that's, you know, 20 miles away from us. So we're hoping to really get a lot of that cross pollination and bring some of those folks in the fold.
Yeah.
I'm attending. I cannot friggin' wait. Like, honestly, like, the wife's coming. We're making a whole date day out of it. Like, I cannot freaking wait to go. So, I mean, what a great idea. Can you get into the Canna Cup part of it?
Yeah. What would you like to know about it? So, I guess.
Yeah, like just the whole meaning behind it, like the voting.
I can lead us up a little bit, right? Going back to that point about we're about giving people an experience. You know, you want a drive-through experience, we can do that. You want a party in a public place, we can do that. And one of the things we did with this Canna Cup box with the voting is we have a people's choice part where we've curated some boxes where there's a variety of different objects.
Well, we didn't curate it. They're submissions. So.
Okay.
Basically, there are people's choice boxes. That's the first phase of the voting. So essentially, there were boxes that had several different items within certain classes, you know, hybrids, indica sativa flower, etc.
Got it.
And then people would make their votes there. The finalists from there will then go on to the judges. Yep. And the judges are, you know, some of the Afroman is one of them. Some of the
Jack Heinrichs is one of them.
Yeah, there are various. High-profile judges.
So people that have no experience smoking weed whatsoever, like Afroman and Josh Heinrichs, right?
Yeah, connoisseurs.
He's gonna try the dabs out of his nose.
But one thing I can report, like with those boxes, man, like every person I know that has bought one, you know, you have a variety of different items that. Usually when you walk into the store, you kind of like know what you want, or you're asking them for a recommendation. This is like, it's a chance to have an experience. You have a few items that you weren't necessarily looking for, but now you get to try one and reflect on it and have like a multi-day experience of trying these things out and then voting. And so then you also have like a stake in the outcome. So I think it's been very well received, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I had about the Cannabis Cup going into it was, you guys closed voting on the 1st, I think, of August.
Yeah.
And so whenever you check out the judges box or the consumer boxes to be judged online, you have different elevations, elevation 1, elevation 2. You have them broken down into different categories and stuff. So explain to me, what are the different elevations, and what did you choose, like whether you wanted a vape box or whether you wanted an edibles box, or how did that process work?
The elevations themselves are, well, we found it was better received whenever you were in a certain price point. So we try to keep everything within a reasonable price point. Otherwise, we could pile every vape into a box, and nobody's going to come in and spend $600 to try 12 vapes. So they're broken into different elevations based on their category. So you might have 3 different elevations of distillate vapes, for instance, but they're all part of distillate vapes.
Yep.
And so they had to be broken up into some easily consumable form for the customers. And that's essentially how they got broke out there. But
but like you don't necessarily want to evaluate like a rosin vape that's like top tier premium quality product compared to like just a run-of-the-mill distillate vape, but you can compare distillate vape across the category with other peers and then decide, okay, who's got the best one in that subcategory, or who's got the best one in the rosin category or the hybrid flower category, or so on. The only nuanced feedback I got from anybody was that with the edibles box, like we put gummies in there with some chocolates and so on, and that ended up being one of our less popular boxes. And when we took some surveys from staff, it's like what we discovered is that folks like chocolate bars or they like gummies, but they're not the same cohort.
Yeah.
So things like that, we probably could have compared chocolate bars to chocolate bars and gummies to gummies, but we had 15 or 20 different elevations. There's a lot to choose from already.
I think it was 30 total. And they were based off submissions. If people wanted to submit it, so we had X number of product that people wanted to submit to compete. And so from there, we had to dissect that, and which I want to, shout out to Corinne. She put a lot of effort in making those all digestible. And, we were tapped along the way to give our opinions and help, but she really did a lot of the legwork here. So for sure, I think Corinne deserves a lot of credit there. But overall, that's the premise of the elevation.
But then one like another piece to close this, to wrap this up with a nice bow on it, is like, it's again a differentiating factor with us at North is we're not a big vertical. So like if you come into our stores, we offer a ton of different suppliers, a ton of different brands. We've got 44 different suppliers and over 100 different brands that have been that are offered on a regular basis here. Versus if you go up to the next street, either direction to our competitors, those are both vertically owned and operated entities, and they sell 90% their own product, which we sell those products too. So if you're looking for a breadth, wide breadth of product, you want to come to North.
Yeah, I think there has been some times over the years that being independent has not been in our best for us, but there's been a lot of times where it's been really convenient. And with to kind of add on to that, since we're a smaller operation, we don't have a giant board. There's 3 of us partners. So when we want to change something, or something's not right, or we want to come up with a crazy idea, there's 3 of us that need to agree, and we're ready to move. So that it's much easier for us to act fast and evolve quick, and then also try to do some of these out there things that the bigger guys they're too slow to move or too much to deal with. So we take advantage of that as much as we can.
Almost all of our meetings satisfy the pizza rule. So you could feed everybody in that meeting with 1 pizza.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I got to tell you, I just love. We've had Alex Paulson from Easy Mountain, and
those guys are great.
He's a local dude too, and like he just wants to give back to his community. Like, I freaking love those stories, and the fact that you guys are doing it like as a family is even cooler, And so you guys are in Jeff City and everything, but do you have it?
Jefferson County.
Jefferson County. Sorry, you're Jeff City. Are you thinking about expanding out of there? Do you want to keep building what you have right now, or what are you thinking for the
So
future?
this is our core competency for sure, right
Yeah.
here in Jefferson County market. We're always looking at deals. Things are always in motion. Every time a new market hits the application milestone, we're in. Like we applied for a giant stack of licenses in Kentucky. We were unsuccessful. We're continuing to look at new states as they come on. Like Nebraska will be here soon enough. Kansas will be here soon enough. Maybe we're looking at Texas or Minnesota. We're open to any of those new markets, right? But as here in Missouri as well, like if the right opportunity comes across and we can close a deal, we'll do it. I think one of the only downsides for us right here in the Missouri market is that a lot of the valuations have become very inflated, and we are making cash, but do we want to trade those cash for for a big nut, or do we want to just take that same cash and start in a new market with less dollars invested, right? Because as soon as you buy something that you paid a lot of money for, you got to pay that back. You have to have a return on capital. So,
So just to
but we do. I'll tell you what, we just launched a brand. It should be hitting the shelves in the next week or two.
Okay.
It's Compass Cannabis.
Yeah, it's an in-house brand. It was our first little dabble into an actual product brand. We're doing it in partnership with a manufacturing infused product license. But we're just kind of testing the waters there and seeing how it goes. But if it goes well, we'll expand it. Maybe we'll offer it elsewhere. But to speak on to what Leonard was just talking about as far as expansion, we have evaluated over the years many, many, many opportunities. Anybody comes and they got something, we'll talk. Like we're always ready to listen, and if the right time comes, we will take it. We do want to expand, but we also need to expand smart.
Yeah, right.
We are a small guy. We don't want to be gobbled up. We don't want to take on 20 more board members because we got to take a ton of money to buy a $20 million grow facility or something along those lines. So, but we evaluate them with reason. The easiest thing is like we know we are the original application writers. That's one thing we didn't mention. We're not just co-founders. We are the ones that wrote the applications that got us these licenses. Yeah. And that's another rare thing. So we know that we're good at originating a license. So if we can do that, that's why we want to take the opportunity to try to do that in other states when they become available. Although most of them nowadays are smart enough to do lotteries of litigation. But so with that being said, we're constantly evaluating any opportunity we can to expand, but we got to do it smart.
So what are some of the products that you guys are going to be rolling out with Compass, and when can we expect to see it on shelves? I would assume debuting at North and then branching from there.
The idea is, we're just kind of testing the waters here, but we are launching them here. They're currently being packed and bagged right now, so it should be any time in the next week to 2 weeks they'll be here available. And we're coming out with simple 4 flavors. I think the next thing we'll probably touch is going to be edibles. Once we expand on the vapes, if this all goes well, and that kind of feeds in with. There's also a chance at some point to maybe getting into an MIP if this takes off enough. It might do us justice to get one of our own. But this is just the start of something.
So to give you a little bit of background here, like why did we name it North? Why do we make it a North product? Well, we're reserving that for future opportunity. Like for us, North is a premium brand. It's premium. Like whatever is North is premium. So if we're going to make a North product and launch it, it's got to be top of the line. So for example, we probably would put like a live rosin cart and a North branded package, but something like a distillate vape. Like our like modus operandi there really was like, Neil and I, personally I like vapes that taste like weed, and so if you're going to have a distillate vape, you can add, you can choose the terpenes to get it back in there to make it still taste like weed, not like soap or flowers, you know what I mean?
As much as possible. Yeah.
So for me, so a lot of what we're targeting are like old school strain names. So Northern Lights would be one that we'll have. Clementine, and then Girl Scout cookies. Basically when somebody walks in and they want a gelato vape, they're not asking for a brand. We've got something for you specifically.
Yeah. And I'm really proud of that brand, by the way, because I made that all on my own.
He did all the branding. We R&D'd like many formulations. We our staff really kind of felt like they got to be a part of that process because we got those testers. Tell us what you like, and then we narrowed it. Then we had like 10 or 15 flavors to start, and narrowed it down to just 4 that we're going to launch with. And and then also it was at a North Night Out when I had a bunch of testers, which it's kind of rough to ask somebody to try 15 different things. Here, try this one, and then this one, and then this.
Some people tried, so that was also another thing is there were people that were there, they're just part of the community that come to our events that I let them, what's your opinion on these, so that
number 10 through 15 all taste like yellow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, schnozberries. They're all schnozberry flavors.
Right. Well, I try to make it simple. I give them like 3 at a time. Tell me your favorite, right? And then here's another 3. Tell me your favorite. So that way, because otherwise, I try to say do all 15. They're gonna forget the first.
Yeah, you gotta cleanse.
Forget everything past the last 2. So I try to make it reasonable. But yeah, it was pretty interesting, and I so far it's been good. It's been good, easy. And I think it's going to work out. The numbers seem to make sense, but like I said, that might be part of our plan and expansion. If this takes off and it would justify having our own manufacturing license, maybe we'll get one. It just depends.
I mean, it sounds like you guys have been riding a hot streak since you started. So I would I would just keep following your gut. Holy cow! Okay, so just to remind everybody, North Canna Cup and Music Festival, August 30th. And now it is at the
Jefferson County Fairgrounds.
Jefferson County Fairgrounds.
12 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Oh my gosh. The Floozies, Afroman, Josh Heinrichs, Kamm and the One Drops, Gorilla Theory. Oh my gosh. The Canna Cup. There's like 1,000 different things going on. Swag bags, dab bar. Oh my God.
Lots of food vendors. It's a great venue. It's good stuff.
Dab bar's an actual dab bar. A lot of people are kind of confused by that, but yeah, no, you just walk up, they give you a little rundown of what they got, you say, and then you just bang out a dab and go about your way.
Yeah.
It's convenient, so you don't have to carry around your own rig and stuff. We got people there that's going to take care of it for you. They'll clean it up. If you've never done a dab, it's a good place to learn.
There's no charge to any of that stuff, or it's not legal for us to sell anything in a public settings. It's just there. It's a place to experience things.
Wow. Oh my gosh, guys. This was awesome. I don't want to forget this, though. We always ask our guests what they're listening to. Neil, let's start with you. What are you listening to, man?
This is going to be a little obscure, but I got to give a shout out to there's some buddies of mine. They're called the Richters. They just dropped an album a little while ago called Corpus Callosum, but they are an amazing band, and I don't know what it is. Since I first heard their last album, I just can't get them out of my head.
The Richters. Okay. Are they from Missouri?
They are from St. Louis. They've played a couple of our events, but yeah, they're a great band. So if you haven't heard of them, give them a listen.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've got 3 answers. Number 1, if I'm listening to the radio, I'm listening to 93.1. If you tune in to 93.1, we've got ads on there and all that stuff. But it's great music. It's the kind of music I like. It's like classic rock. But if I'm not listening to the radio, in my CD player right now, I have an autographed copy of a Josh Heinrichs Greatest Hits CD. And when I bought that for myself, I bought it for 15 of my staff. They were also Josh Heinrichs fans, so that was awesome. And then I've been a diehard Kamm fan ever since I first heard the first note. You know what I mean? So
yes,
it's Mississippi blues meets reggae. I mean, I don't know. You got to hear it.
If I were to add anything else, it would be that's my second one. In fact, that's what I was listening to on the way over. It was Richters, but it was Kamm. So,
oh my gosh, how cool is that you get to start a festival and get all your favorite bands? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty good.
That's fantastic. Wow. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I love your story. Please, if you're listening, watching, go to this event. I mean, it sounds like a freaking blast. I cannot wait to go. Great music, great vibes. Can't wait to meet you guys in person. And yes, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. We appreciate you guys for having us.
Yeah. Thanks to the audience. I mean, we wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, that's right. Hillsborough and Peevely. Go visit them. Thank you so much,
Super
guys.
excited to see the launch of the new brand, and appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to day. I know you guys have a million things going on with now just finishing up the logistics of the event. So excited to see you all, and excited to see how the first Cannabis Cup event on the eastern side of the state goes, and see where we go from here. You guys have. It looks like 30 or 40 different brands represented in your Cannabis Cup entries. That makes you immediately one of the biggest Cannabis Cups that has ever existed in the States. Congratulations on that. Way to enter the space and immediately
destroy
immediately launch with just super high expectations.
Yeah.
Really do appreciate you guys. I've told you a million times over the last couple of years, I love you guys. I love what you do. And I truly appreciate the approach that you guys have taken to everything, from build out to execution to changing things on the fly. I've always loved the way that you guys have handled your business, and the way that you've interacted and kept everything rooted in your community. And so this is a small token of me being able to show my appreciation to you and what you guys do. And I'm super excited to be able to celebrate you guys.
Likewise, it's hard to understate how much we appreciate everything. Like, Brandon, you've been here. I know I've been like in this circle for 6 years, and you've been there every minute of it. And I got nothing but good things to say about you. You've been just a pleasure to work with over all these years.
That's right. That's him.
He just said that because he thinks that otherwise we won't play the interview.
No, I'm serious.
Everywhere.
I mean, when I see you, I'm gonna give you a hug. So
that is true. Fantastic hugs. Fantastic hugs. Probably two of the best huggers in the industry are Neil and Leonard.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate
so
your
much.
time. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Hey guys, don't forget MJ Unpacked is happening September 3rd through the 5th at Union Station Hotel in St. Louis. This is the national event where licensed cannabis operators, researchers, and active investors converge to move the industry forward. Register now at mjunpacked.com to save your space, and Greenway listeners get an additional 30% off registration using code Greenway30. That's Greenway30. Go to mjunpacked.com to sign up now.